Hello and welcome to another wrap-up. I feel like my lisp is slightly better, so hopefully I will not focus my entire being on my lisp next time I look at myself talking. July was not the best month of the year. I only read 6 books I only read 6 books compared to every other month. It's not as great, but it's fine. So let's just get into the stats. So, in terms of genre, I read it exactly half-half. 3 books were romance books and 3 books were fantasy. That was hard for my list to say. And then in terms of star rating, I read 2 4 stars, 1 3.5, 2 3 stars, and 1 2 star. And in total, I read 2,402 pages. So, the first book that I read in July was The Henna Wars by Adiba Jaigirdar. I still don't know how to say her name. I'm really sorry. But I don't know. And this follows Nishat, I think that's how you pronounce the name, who during school they have this sort of like competition where they need to make a business, and the person who does the best wins a prize. I think it's money. So she decides to do a henna shop by herself. But another girl from the school called Flavia is also doing a henna shop, so there's kind of a competition going on. And at the same time, Nishat is kind of in love with Flavia. And the main character is also a lesbian, and she is struggling with that as well. I gave this a 3 star. This was very hyped, which is why I bought it. It was hyped a lot on Twitter, from what I saw, mostly. And I wanted to read it. It sounded fun. A lesbian romance. Henna, which I love. It sounded interesting, but it was not for me. I think I'm just slowly starting to hate YA. The romance was okay. It's described as enemies to lovers, and they're really not enemies at all. Probably like 5 seconds. I don't know. They don't feel like enemies for it to be enemies to lovers. Whatever. I also felt like they didn't have chemistry, so that was also a minus. I did like Nishat's and her sister Pretty, I think, relationship. That was great. I really liked it. It wasn't the best sister relationship, but like, I feel like it is, what is the word I'm looking for? I feel like it is well done, like it's a realistic, that's the word I'm looking for, realistic sister relationship. Sometimes not really, but I feel like some sisters could have that kind of relationship, I think. The characters were okay. Nisha, it was interesting to learn about her culture and stuff like that, and Flavia is Brazilian, so I'm like 1 removed from that, and I've never actually read a book with a Brazilian character, so that was fun. But other than that, I didn't care for them. They were just there. There's a plot point in this, kind of like Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, where somebody does something anonymously to the main character. The character is outed, and I didn't like how the resolution was done in this, so that was another problem. Basically, this just was not for me. At the end of the day, I see how it's a good book, but I did not really like it. I give it a 3. That means it's like good, basically. I don't know. The next book that I read was Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which was one of my anticipated releases of the year. And this follows 2 not editors. One's an agent and one is an editor, and they're obviously enemies. Nora is an agent. After something happens, I forgot what it was, Nora and her sister decide to go to a place where Nora's client's book is placed. That didn't make any sense. To be on holidays for a month, and at the same time, she sees her enemy, Charlie, the editor, in that same small town. I feel like that's the easiest way to... it didn't sound easy at all, but that's the way I describe this. I gave this a 4. It wasn't a new favorite, which I'm kind of sad about, but it was better than People We Meet on Vacation, so I am happy about that. I liked Charlie's and Nora's banter. I still, again, did not feel that they were enemies. This is again pitched as enemies to lovers. It's not. He's Nora's work nemesis. Nemesis. That means enemy, right? They're not. Apart from that, I don't really have anything except for one critique, which is that it was predictable, but I say that a lot. But it was really predictable, so I don't know. I liked it. The next book that I read in July is an arc called Reasons Why Not to Date Public Enemy CEO by Melanie Munton, I think. It's a really long name. We follow our main character who works at a beach resort in her small town, and she's the town sweetheart, I guess. And at the same time, we have the grumpy CEO of said beach resort, who is her boss, and they have sort of an enemies to lovers moment. I gave this a 2-star. Was this great? Absolutely not. Was it entertaining? A little bit. It was not a good book. The plot of this book is really basic, and it's 99% just smut. And when I say smut, it's not the good kind. It was very cringy. I kept reading them out to my friend, and he was questioning my life choices. There were a lot of choice words describing the scenes that were not for me. Peak was using coochie. The characters were not good. And the romance was not good either. Somebody in their review that I read after the fact said that they would break up in a few years, and I agree. No. But the fun part was reading it out to my friend, my best friend, and their banter was nice. But yeah, that's the only reason I gave it a 2, was because it was funny to me. The next book that I read was another arc called The Liar's Crown by Abigail Owen. In this book, we follow Marin, a second-born twin in this kingdom where twins come every second generation, and the second-born twin acts as the heir's double. That was the most concise explanation I've ever done in my life. So one day, Marin, the double, is acting as a double, and she gets kidnapped. And that's what the story is. I give this a 3.5. It was good. It wasn't amazing. The world building was interesting. I was very confused throughout the book. There were so many new names and so much going on that I still don't know what they mean. The plot was pretty basic in my opinion. It was very typical YA fantasy romance. Most of the plot twists were predictable. I saw them coming, which I don't like, but it happens. But their romance was meh, and there was enemies to lovers for 5 pages. Not great. Also, there's a low-key love triangle, and I think there's going to be a sequel, so I'm not going to read it because I feel like it's going to have a love triangle. Also, this book has the quirky swearing that I hate to death. Like, fish sticks, that vibe, it has that. I don't like it. So, yeah, a 3.5. It was okay. It was not great. It was not bad. And the last 2 books that I read are part of a series, and they're the last 2 books in the Caraval series. I hate that they're so different. By Stephanie Garber. I read the first one last year almost exactly when I read these, like July, kind of. So it's been a while. I finally finished it. This one I gave a 4. This one I gave a 3. The first book I gave a 4.5. So can you see that it's going downhill? Yeah. If you don't know what this story is about, it is about a game called Caraval, obviously, that appears once a year, hosted by a mysterious guy called Legend, and it's about the main character Scarlet going to play that game to save her sister Donatella. In the first book, I really hated Donatella, and the second book is in her perspective, so that's why it took so long for me to read it. But I ended up not minding her in this book, even though I gave it a 4 and not a 4.5. I still liked it. This, though, I give a 3 because there was no game. And that's why I liked the first two. Because they have games. This one does not. I don't know. They were fine. Not my new favorite series, but it was a good series. So these 4 books plus the 2 arcs were all the books that I read in July. Not the best, not the worst, but I feel like because of the ratings, it's kind of bad too. Whatever. But that is everything for today, and I'll see you in my next weird video. Bye!